2022 state elections. That's how it's been interpreted. But let's ask a business editor, A.K. Bhattacharya, what he has made from a business angle. Good morning, AKB. Thank you very much for waking up early for us. From a business standpoint, what's the interpretation?
Well, I think it's a big overhaul, as you rightly say. For me, the big takeaway is that the two cabinet ministers who have gained from this overhaul or reshuffle are one is a home minister who has got a new ministry which has been carved out of the agriculture ministry and the Ministry for Cooperation. So one has to, from an economic policy standpoint, one has to see what kind of role the cooperation ministry, given the kind of the play the cooperatives will play in the economy. That is something to be watched, and the Home Ministry has got one more ministry. And the other ministry, to my mind, in the cabinet level minister, who has got strengthened through this overhaul, is the finance minister. Because the finance minister has now got not just one more colleague under her charge, but in the form of a minister of state, but she has got a very important additional department under her, which is the Department of Public Enterprises. And as you would know that that there has been a lot of issues about the pace of privatization of many of the public sector undertakings, and also the asset monetization, the assets that the public sector units had under their control. Their monetization was supposed to have contributed a lot to the government's revenues from disinvestment and asset sales this year. Now, once the public sector department comes under the Ministry of Finance, I would imagine it is a signal to the finance minister that she can go ahead and get the act on this front fast, so that the goals set under the budget can be met. So these are the two the cabinet ministers I thought had actually strengthened themselves. And of course, there are many other areas where you would look with a lot of interest. I would look at how Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, who was a former IAS officer, a technocrat, looks at his Ministry of Information Technology, and Communications, and probably the previous minister, Mr. Prasad's, dealing with major the tech giants like Google and even Twitter. You can actually
expect a change, perhaps. AKB, you started off by saying, a key point you're making is that the finance minister getting the Ministry of Public Enterprises. This would be an important takeaway for stock markets as well, isn't it? Speeding up of divestment.
Oh, absolutely. I think, if you remember that there was this big debate that even if the finance ministry wants certain disinvestments and privatization and asset sales go ahead, they would be the ministries and the ministers in charge. They will not always see eye to eye on many issues. Now, no such excuses, no such dilly-dallying can happen because of interministerial wrangling. The finance minister has the Department of Public Enterprises under her own control. So the Minister of Heavy Industry has to just left with the industry policies. The Minister of Heavy Industry has, who is the Minister of Heavy Industry? Mr. Prasad, I think. So I think Department of Public Enterprises coming under Finance Ministry is a big takeaway in my view, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Mr. Bhattacharya, eventually the goal of the government has been to A, spur job creation, and B, to achieve higher economic growth and a recovery in the economy post the pandemic. Will this cabinet reshuffle help the government in any way to get closer to these two goals?
Well, I do not know whether they will, they are directly aimed at creating more jobs, but certainly some of the key areas of concern that confront the government with regard to economic policy management, you saw some concern over the way the pandemic was managed. You still do not know who is to be blamed. but the health minister has been held responsible for it. It seems to me from the overall that he had to go. And you have a new health minister, Mansukh Mandavia. He has had a good track record as a Minister of State so far.
Yeah.
In terms of oil, you are going to see a new minister. Now, oil is a major area of concern, and there has been some concern of late over the manner in which domestic oil exploration activities have not gained the kind of momentum that it should, given India's dependence on oil imports rising gradually and domestic oil production falling. And also there is some concern over what should be the right strategy in terms of oil procurement from abroad, whether you should want to take it from the US or from the OPEC. So I think the oil ministry change is an important change where you are seeing Hardeep Puri becoming the oil minister. And please remember that Mr. Hardeep Puri has lost his civil aviation ministry. So Air India divestment will be on top of the agenda of the new minister, Mr. Jyotiraj Scindia.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of changes that have happened, which give you pointers to the kind of policy moves that you would call the policy thrust that we'll see. One area of something which I have no answer to is that Mr. Gangwar's departure, who did very well with the labor reforms. He brought in all the labor codes and everything. They may have been slow, but he did bring labor reforms. And yet, he had to sort of go. So that is something which is a bit of a
surprising.
Maybe it is maybe some political reasons. His role in the UP politics may have cost him his job.
Okay. Mr. Bhattacharya, good morning. So, a political question here. Do you think there's a bit of a realization here and ahead of big state elections that for the first time, the Prime Minister's own ratings may have taken a hit? And that's why perhaps this kind of course correction was needed, especially with the health ministry.
I would not entirely disagree with you. I think post second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, the government had taken a lot of flack for the way it was managed, the way early victory was declared over the pandemic. And also it's the management of the vaccination rollout, the management of the vaccination policy, the involvement of states, everything that had come under attack. Now, what is not clear is the specific role that the health minister played in this. It is possible to argue that as the health minister, he should have asserted himself and made sure that the management of the pandemic as well as the vaccination rollout strategy are to his liking and to his thinking and are more effective. So clearly, the health minister had to pay a price by exiting the cabinet. But there is also something that I would point out here, that the Indian economy or the Indian government has lost a bit of its political capital in the international investing community since its spats with many foreign companies have actually been on the rise, whether it is Kane or whether it is Twitter or Google or whether it is Amazon. So there is some sort of there's a pushback from the international foreign investing community that listen, you are a great market, big market, but can you do something about your policy? So my sense is that if you look at some of the policy change of the ministerial changes, you will see that the new ministers are probably be a little more mindful of the way the information technology rules are being enforced.
Got it.
Probably. So I think there is an awareness that the government has to do something to improve its political capital and even the economic capital among the international investing community.
Okay. AK, we have to leave it at that. Thank you very much for giving us your spin on how you interpret the changes and the expansion of the cabinet. So positive perhaps for divestment, positive perhaps for the foreign investor mood. And I would submit, making a scapegoat so that, okay, we did badly and those who did badly on the health front have been punished. So a bit of a performance message as well being given through the reshuffle. We'll have more experts commenting, stock market experts as well, on the reshuffle. We're going to take a quick break and come back with our entire team for the top 10 stocks.